Welcome to this video. It might be a little bit more hot take than we're used to here on this channel. It's all about vendor events and the things that I have come to realize about them. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're ready to go. I've got all of my notes. I thought long and hard about this video because before you start doing vendor events, I feel like you can watch things about vendor events or you can go to vendor events as a customer. But until you are there for that hour and a half before, like a setup time, and then that afterward breakdown time, I think that a lot of things go unmentioned, or a lot of things you just may not realize. And as someone who is selling at an event, you should be fully informed of everything going on. So if you disagree, totally fine. Please make sure you remain respectful in the comments. I appreciate that. Let's dive in. I don't think I have any particular order here. I just wrote them down as they came to mind. It's really just a culmination of things that I feel like aren't mentioned but should be, and that I've learned through my experience. I'm going to tell you what, number 7 is quite surprising. I just have them in a list, and number 7 I think was the biggest shock for an eye opener for me. Okay, when you're signing up for a vendor event, you should always ask before signing up if the event is rain or shine. Now that might seem obvious to some, but I know it wasn't obvious to me that I needed to ask that question, because for me, you know, when an event is rain or shine, the rain stops me from being able to bring quite a few things. For example, like bath bombs. I can't bring bath bombs in the rain, right? They're going to hit that humidity and expand and they'll all be ruined. Soaps, depending on how you wrap them. Again, if they're hitting rain, they're automatically ruined. Body butters, if they touch the rain. Different things that you make, not to mention your labels on pretty much anything unless you have waterproof labels. So it's important that you ask that question before you sign up, so that way you can decide knowing all of the information. So far, I've been in one event that was rain or shine, and it did actually rain and became very, very humid. Like, the rain was just a very brief, maybe 2 or 3 minute rain, but it made it so humid that some labels started to peel off. On the person next to mine's stand, they had candles, and some of my candle labels also started to kind of curl up. So keep that in mind. And you know, if you want to go to a rain or shine event, go to your rain or shine event, but just make sure you make that decision knowing ahead of time so you can prepare. The next thing I have learned is to always help out the people at the vendor stands around you. I personally am of the mindset that what you put out is what you get back. So if you're being nasty to the people around you, that's what's going to come back to you. And you just never know, 1, if you're going to need their help, or 2, if you're going to see them again. I'm starting to realize now, though I haven't been to many repeat events, and my events have kind of been scattered across the Tri-County area where I live, I haven't really seen a lot of repeat people, but all of those people know each other, which leads me to believe, right, we're all going to see each other again. So I personally think one way that you can get the most out of your event is to just be kind to everyone, because you really, really never know. One day you might need, you know, a mention or just anything at all. You just never know when you're going to see or need something from those people. So being kind is really the best way to go. Next up, consider the melting point of your products and the weather forecast. I guess this really only affects the summer or warmer months, or if you live in a hot or humid climate, but you really have to pay attention to the temperatures forecasted for that event, or what the average temperatures for that time may be if you're booking the event months in advance. You need to make sure that your products can stay cool and they won't melt. If you do something like body butters, high likelihood that they will melt. Candles, high likelihood that they will melt. If you're looking for tips on how to stay cool during these events, then you can check out this video here. I gave all the best things that I've learned going to vendor events for that. So you can check out that video. It does have some really good tips in it. Okay, I haven't been keeping track, so I'm not exactly of the number, so I'm not exactly sure what number this is, but my next tip or the next thing that I have come to realize is paying a higher vendor event fee does not always equal making more money. It stinks because I know personally I was of the mindset of, okay, if I pay more money, then I'll have more exposure and there will be more people there to buy my things. But that's not always the case, especially if you're paying for an event where the attendees also have to pay a ticket price to enter. That to me is this is from my own personal experience, that for me kind of tells me that that might not be the event. I recently did a lavender festival and I actually I have a vlog on it. Whether or not it's on my channel yet, I'm not sure, but I did film that whole festival, kind of the prep for it and everything, typical vlog. That event I had to pay a vending fee, but the people had to pay $35 for an entry ticket to the entire festival. And if they wanted to park at the actual festival, they had to pay another fee for parking. There was a trolley, like a full, like legitimate trolley that went back and forth down the street for free that you could do. But if you wanted to actually like park there, you had to pay money. So it was very interesting, and you can watch that video. There was a lot of interesting happenings that happened at that event. But you know, I was surprised because I thought, okay, people are paying money to come to this event. They're going to come and they're going to shop. And that didn't actually end up being the case. Again, to reel it back in, a higher vendor fee does not always mean you're going to get more sales or that it will be more lucrative for you. I feel like this is also pretty obvious, but just in case, I do want to mention it because I wasn't actually aware of it until I like physically did some events. If you are the type of person that does not want to stay the entire time, as soon as the rush is over, you're ready to pack up and leave, prepare to be put on the list. You know what I'm saying? And by the list, I mean the list of vendors that festival coordinators or event coordinators or market coordinators will no longer accept applications from. I've seen this happen at 2 different events. One was an Island Day festival, and the people at the booth next to me decided they were going to pack up about 3 hours early after like the initial rush of people came through. And when the coordinator of the event came over and asked them why they were packing up early, the coordinator mentioned to the vendor, please don't apply for this again. We're not going to accept you because you're leaving early. And I think that that's normal. And I also understand it. You know what I mean? You don't want to say, oh, we're going to have vendors here until 3 o'clock, but then 1 o'clock rolls around and people come and there's nobody left because everyone packed up and left. I personally think it's a little, unless there's extenuating circumstances, right? I don't think it's very professional to pack up and leave early if you have signed whatever or put your word to, I'm going to stay until this time. Again, it's one of those things, you get out what you put back. So maintaining that professionalism will follow through with other things. And in the other side of that token, if you're a great vendor, people are going to remember that. Coordinators are going to remember that. And next time your application might be pushed up to the top. You know what I mean? You just never know what's going to happen. So again, maintaining that professionalism will help you. Don't leave an event early unless you absolutely have to, and talk to the event coordinator before you do so. So you can explain, hey, I'm not leaving just because I'm not getting any more sales. I actually have a reason to go. The next thing, now this might be because I love to people watch, but I love to take a lap around after setup and see what everyone has going on. I think it's a great way to learn what you like, especially in the beginning when you're still kind of trying to figure out like a good setup and a good amount of products to have, and you know, those kinds of things. in the beginning, I think it's an excellent idea to take a lap or two around and see what other people have going on. Obviously, I don't recommend that you go to another booth and copy exactly everything that they do and buy everything that they have so you can display it, you know. I don't recommend that, but I think it's a really good idea to go. But I think it's a really good idea because you can see what you like. You can see what other people are doing that you don't like. You can figure out what differentiates you from those other people. For example, if I know that there are 2 other soap makers at an event and I'm the third one of them, if I know there are 3 of us, I'll go and check them out. That way, when people come through and they're like, oh, wow, another soap maker, you know, I can say, oh yes, I saw the other booths. I really, you know, thought they had a great product offering, but here's how I'm different. So the more you know, the more you're able to explain yourself without putting the other people down in hopes to get that sale over someone else. Okay, follow me here because this one might seem a little bit crazy. And after this one is when I'm going to give you the most mind-blowing thing that I have learned. I have been watching, again, I'm a people watcher. I have been watching how things go down at these vendor events now that I have several under my belt. Standing up in your booth, not sitting anywhere or sitting behind your table will get you more sales. I don't sit down, I stand, especially when people come over to me. If I do sit down, as soon as someone enters the booth, I'm up so I can talk to them and up so I can just be, you know, standing there. I think it's a far more professional image if you are standing around the space and if you're around the front of the table where they are instead of standing behind the table. It's really like I feel like a customer service dynamic, right? I'm not selling to you, I'm helping you decide kind of thing is how I look at it. But I have noticed there will be, you know, my booth and a similar booth a couple down. They're sitting down behind their table in their chair, not moving when people come up, and I'm up and around. I'm making more sales than they are. So the chair, love it. We love a chair. We need a break, get it. But when people enter your booth, the most important thing you can do is stand up and walk around to the front and talk to them. Here's the most mind-blowing one. Did you know? I broke my nail, so I'm trying not to like flash it directly in the camera. Did you know that an event that is booked for longer hours does not equal more sales? Because now that I think about it, it makes sense. But before I started doing events, I truly thought that the longer the event was, the better, because I was going to make more sales. And that is just truly not at all the case. I have found the longer the event, the busier the morning section of the event is, and then it just over time completely dies out. I personally think that I will be sticking to a 4 to 5 hour maximum for an event and then moving on. It would have to be something very interesting going on for me to choose an event that is longer than 5 hours. I'm gonna try and stick to 4. I know that scooting back to 4 really leaves a lot on the table because most events are 5. So I'm gonna just go with like a 4 to 5 hour maximum. Again, this lavender festival that I went to, it really just opened my eyes to so many things. It was from 11 to 6 and setup was at 9. If you watch the vlog, or if you're gonna watch the vlog, you'll find out I didn't make any sales after 3 p.m. Now we did end up packing up at 5 because at the end of the event, we came under a severe thunderstorm watch. And when I tell you it poured, I mean, it poured. We got out of there before it started to rain. And I tried to vlog it, but my phone died. So I don't think I got it. But you could just see the rain coming in over the, it was crazy. So though we didn't end up staying until 6, I didn't make any sales after 3. Lesson learned, obviously. So just know, and again, if you want to do these long events, do the long events. Just because I had my experience doesn't mean yours is going to be the same. But personally, what I have decided is I'm not going to events over 5 hours, and the longer in general the event is, the less. And just because it's a longer event doesn't mean you are going to get more sales, which really stinks. But my last 2 hot takes. First, I think that what you wear really matters because, again, going with like the standing thing that I already talked about, I've noticed that people are more attracted to the booths where the products match the person selling them, if that makes sense. So, for example, I would say that my products are more luxury, they're very elevated, they're different, they're unique in a luxury way. If I am there wearing leggings and a t-shirt and I don't have any makeup on and my hair's up in a home bun, as my daughter calls it, not only does that not match, but it also doesn't give the vibe that I care. You know what I mean? If you look like you just rolled out of bed, people might be like, dude, like, she didn't even get ready for this. She must not care. And I understand that people are going to disagree with that, and you are absolutely welcome to disagree with me. My personal experience, people, and not just with myself, but watching others, my experience has really been people are attracted to those booths that have professional sellers. That's just kind of what I've seen. So I don't know, take that for what you will. The last thing that I've learned from going to these different vendor events is that when it comes to signups, the early bird absolutely gets the worm. Right now, I'm putting in my applications for fall and holiday markets. I've noticed that especially, you know, in my area, there are a lot of soap makers, there are a lot of candle makers. So I have to, if I want to be accepted to these events, then I have to be first or second to sign up, because most places aren't going to say, okay, I want to have there's 20 vendors, I want 4 of them to be candle makers, or I want 4 of them to be soap makers, right? It doesn't do well, or doesn't bode well for them as events. And that is it for today's video. Those were my hot takes from doing vendor events for a couple of months now. Obviously, I know I have a lot to learn. I don't think I'm an expert in them in any way, but I've just been noticing quite a few things that I think will help other people, especially if they're just starting. You can check the description box below if you are interested in joining my free Facebook group. It's like a supplier news for makers. So when places are having sales, I put them in the group. Or if, you know, Makesy drops a bunch of new fragrances, or Wholesale Supplies Plus has a new base coming out, then I put all of those, as soon as I find them, I put them in the group. All right, I will see you in my next video. Bye.